Hi, and thanks for dropping in. I wanted to talk a little bit more this week about staying grounded. That is something I touched on last week, and it's going to be a theme that I return to a lot this year because I do think it's extremely important, invaluable even. In 2020, we were all trying to find our footing. So much was coming at us, and we were just constantly trying to adjust and readjust. And a lot of people have found a new rhythm now, but there's still a lot of uncertainty and there's still a lot going on in the world that's upsetting. So again, being grounded is just the most important thing there is. And last week I was talking about being anchored from within. And I want to just expand on that conversation a bit because a lot of us are walking around in a lot of stress right now. A lot of people suffer from chronic stress in our culture. And I want to discuss this because there's an understanding that most of us have that this is unavoidable or even necessary to be in a certain amount of chronic stress. We've just accepted it. Now, I'm not going to say that there's a way to live without stress or that even that would be what we wanted. However, there is a certain level of stress that we have accepted as normal. And I do want to say that that may not be normal and it may not be helpful. So, if we're walking around in the stress response day in and day out, this is a problem both for our mental health and our physical health. Biologically, the stress response was designed for very brief, discrete periods of time in which we are responding to a clear and present danger. Now, what's happening now with the 24/7 news cycle and social media is that we are responding to all of this digital input as if it's clear and present danger. And the fact is that it's not, but our bodies are responding as if it were. So what that means is that the stress hormones are surging through our bodies almost constantly. And not only is that creating a problem for our mental health in that if we're stressed out, we're really not, we're not concentrating very well, or maybe we're not sleeping well, or there are so many ways that affects us. But our physical bodies start to break down over time if we are constantly being bombarded by stress hormones. And so this leads to all sorts of chronic diseases and just discomfort on a daily basis, insomnia, digestive problems, or even long-term diseases like diabetes are all results of high levels of stress. So that's the part that is, we all know that too much stress is bad for your health. But the other thing about walking around in the stress response constantly is that we're not very effective when we're doing that. The thing is, like, we human beings, our systems, we operate best when we are in a calm frame of mind. That is when we are able to see solutions. That's when we are creative problem solvers. And that's when we are going to react less, reacting, I mean, emotionally to situations that are happening. And often when we are reacting emotionally to situations, we are creating greater problems. We're adding to the problem. So if we're going to actually find creative solutions for ourselves in our personal lives and for the world around us, we need to be in calmer frames of mind more of the time. We need to be able to see things clearly and then respond to them in time, not react impulsively. So the more or less stressed you are, the more or less able you are to do this. And that's one of the things I just want to talk about in terms of being grounded. Being grounded is understanding how to spend more times in more time in clarity and in well-being and clear-headedness, so that we make better decisions, and so that we don't waste a lot of time and energy on actions that are not actually going to get the results that we want. So how do we do this? How do we spend more time in clarity and calm? Well, this is something that I can't really answer you in just one video, but it is something I'm going to continue to talk about as we go through life, because again, the goal here is that you can accomplish your goals without being derailed by things that are happening out in the world, or by your own reactions to them, your own emotional reactions to them. If it's easier to accomplish goals if you're able to stay grounded, you're able to stay clear-headed. So I'm just going to touch on one example of this today. And then again, I'm going to talk about it more and more as we go. But I would say media, right? How much media are you consuming? There's a whole way to consume media that I would say is less harmful. But just in general, the amount of media that you're consuming on a daily basis is probably having a harmful effect on you. There's mass media, there's the media that we get through news and current events, and then there's social media. And both of these can have extremely harmful effects on us. Reason being that, let's say, for example, you're always checking in on the headlines. Now, you probably realize that, news media organizations are trying to make money, even if they're nonprofits. They're still needing to keep subscribers. They're still needing to keep ad dollars coming in. And so what does that mean? It means that they're going to post headlines that get attention. And a lot of times those headlines are the most sensational ones. And even if it's just a fact that they're delivering, they might deliver it in a way that is more emotionally charged so that you will click on it. So if their end goal is to upset you or trigger you in order to get you to click, well, what does that mean? That means your stress response is being triggered. So every time you see a headline and you click on it and you read more, your stress response is being triggered. You are contributing to your own stress. Now, social media, that happens in a similar way. The algorithms are designed to give more feed time to more emotionally charged texts. Just that's how they are, or posts. That's how it's designed. So the more angry the post, or the more full of outrage the post is, the more feed time it's going to get. The more likes it's going to get, the more reactions it's going to get, and then the algorithm tracks that, and it becomes viral, or it's posted, or more people see it more often. So again, these media channels are set up to get us into a worked up state, and so our systems become stressed. We start ruminating about all these things, like what's happening in the world, or I can't believe that person posted that, and how could they think that way, and pretty soon we're walking around with all of these hormones, stress hormones, churning through our bodies again. So that's just the first thing to be aware of. And a lot of people know that they consume too much media, but they don't really know how to stop. Or it does have an addictive effect. It really does. And so that's something to just, if you're not really aware of that process as it's happening, you might look at a headline and start reading the article, but it doesn't end there. You walk away and you're still holding on to that. You're still cycling through the feelings that you had when you were reading that news post, and you might take it through the rest of the day, and you might then talk to your significant other about it, or friends, or find yourself in that state again later. So this is just how we end up in so much stress so much of the time. And I'm not saying not to be informed. That's another point that I'm going to make in a later talk. It's not that you shouldn't be informed. It's just limiting your consumption. That will make a difference. So, like I said, there's a lot more to be said about this. I'm just sort of hitting the tip of the iceberg here. But I think it is something that we all need to be more and more mindful about. And yes, we need to know what's going on in the world, of course, but finding different ways to interact with the media is, I think, crucial for our own health and also for the impact that we have on the world. So I will leave you with that today. And like I said, we'll pick up with more next week because there's a lot to talk about on this topic, especially as the news headlines seem to get more and more and more dramatic. So I hope you have a wonderful week. And if you want more engagement around topics like this and ways to stay grounded and ways to accomplish your goals in spite of uncertainty and world chaos, then check out the box below. It has information about my community where there's an ongoing discussion about all of these things and in more in-depth and more detail every week in terms of how to have the best mental health that you can have, even when the world seems like it's spinning out of control. All right, I will talk to you next week. Take good care.